Hi everyone, this is Divided Films, the podcast where we talk about movies that audiences and critics do not agree on. I'm JJ, with me as always is my co-host Keith.
Hello!
And this episode we don't have one but two guests with us, our friends Sean and Lindsay. Sean and Lindsay are a couple. Sean is one of the masterminds behind the Frog Boys sketch comedy. So thank you guys for coming here today.
Our first doubleheader.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
We are here today to talk about the 2005 film Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, directed by Tim Burton and starring Johnny Depp. So this movie will fall into the category of positive score with critics and a negative score with audiences. Does that surprise you guys that the critics like this more than like general audiences?
I liked it, so I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't like it, so.
Well, okay, I guess this boils that you guys would basically be like a microcosm of this sort of.
This is you guys are perfect for this movie.
Yeah, this might work out a little differently than our other episodes where you guys are probably trying to convince us to come to your side. So let's see how that goes. So the exact scores, according to Rotten Tomatoes, 83% fresh with critics, 51% are rotten with audiences. So a 32% difference is quite a difference there. The critics' consensus, and I guess Lindsay, as someone who likes this movie, this might be something you agree with, and not necessarily Sean. Closer to the source material than 1971's Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is for people who like their chocolate visually appealing and dark. And, visual is the word I probably will agree with the most. I think visually, the production design of this movie, Tim Burton, obviously that's just kind of just bread and butter, is just like, really striking sets and, just a strong vision. So I give
They went all out for this one.
Yeah, I give the movie credit for just having like really great visuals. Sean, I think you're
Definitely for the sets, yeah.
You
I
can
definitely give it to it for the sets.
get on board with that.
Yeah.
For sure.
I think it was just like magical looking. Like everything was like so extraordinary. And you go in and there's like the chocolate fountain and like all the, I like that.
Yeah, I think this was like a very, even though it's dark, there's like a lot of bright colors, it definitely has that magic feel to it where, the 1971 version, that factory seemed a little more industrial. And, this discussion, being that this is the second adaptation of, this story, we're going to have to, talk a little bit about the original, just that comes with the territory. So, you can make comparisons, but I think both movies have their merits. I'll say that at least.
This is probably I think I saw this movie in theaters in 2005, and I walked away going like, hey, I saw a movie. I didn't, it was all right. And this is my second time watching it, and I found myself actually, enjoying it despite its flaws. It has flaws. I don't think it's as high as an 83, but I don't think it's as low as a 51. Right. That's where, I think this conversation is where do I place it?
Yeah.
But I found myself enjoying it.
I enjoyed parts of it. I think other parts, were... for me, for example, I don't think I laughed as much as I remembered laughing when I first saw this. I feel like, for me, the humor for this movie, it's a bit hit and miss.
Is it supposed to be a comedy, though?
I think there's definitely...
It's whimsical.
There's jokes.
Yeah.
I think there's definite, jokes that, some hit, some don't. Some dark humor. That's the tone I'm kind of getting with this movie.
I don't find Johnny Depp funny at all. I know he's the one probably making the most jokes, but it's just
yeah, let's dive into that.
I do. I think it's he's creepy. It's a creepy funny. It's almost like Michael Jackson vibes.
Michael Jackson.
Yeah,
a comparison.
That's one of those things that turned me off.
But almost better because then he's not a pedophile. He doesn't have any kids in the.
He has one.
That's a low bar though. That's a low bar to start with. It's a good movie. He's not a pedophile.
The Oompa Loompas are overage.
The Oompa Loompas are overage. He doesn't like children. He doesn't really like children. He only has the 5 that he ever invited into his factory.
It's a vibe though. You catch that vibe from this man.
Yeah, I think so. If we're gonna go into the cast here, Johnny Depp, I think maybe is the most divisive aspect of this movie.
Even the critics that like this movie, Roger Ebert included, a majority of them say, like, I love the movie, but Johnny Depp.
I think for me, it's a combination of maybe his performance and maybe I feel like they didn't write a lot of funny things for him to say. Like there's like in the original version, Gene Wilder, and I don't know if this was improv or not, had a lot of like wisecracks throughout the whole movie. I feel like there's some shots of Johnny Depp just looking at what's happening without necessarily anything to say, and it's like, oh, I feel like there should be a line there. Like when Augustus Gloop falls into the chocolate fountain or something, he kind of just is watching with a smile on his face, and it's like it's just a silent shot. It's like, was there supposed to be a joke there? It doesn't seem like they have that much material for him to like say something funny.
See, I think like when you're comparing it with the original, it's just Gene Wilder, that character versus the Johnny Depp character. I just feel like there was a heart to that character. Mm-hmm. There was like some kind of give. Whereas this one, like very early on, you're like, Willy Wonka's kind of a dick. Like he's kind of a dick. Like
I do agree that Gene Wilder is the gold standard, but to go off that critic consensus, I think this movie has been remapped. The trailer, at least, there is a creepy vibe to it.
Yeah. Well, the tone is set,
and Tim Burton definitely jumped into that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that obviously, dark is the other keyword from this consensus, is like kind of going for a darker tone. You get that with the Danny Elfman music, which I have to say, the Danny Elfman music is, I feel like, the most generic sounding Danny Elfman music you get. If I had to come up with a stereotypical Danny Elfman Tim Burton score, it would be like this sort of, la 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 la. You kind of get I think a lot of the classic stuff you get. I mean, this is a team up that we've seen a few times already. Tim Burton, Johnny Depp, Danny Elfman.
See, can I just ask? Can anyone recite or give me back one of the songs from the new one?
Oh, I have a lot to say about that.
Because is that a part you jump into that later?
Yeah, well, we can get into that.
We can pick that up.
Deep Roy is a funny guy, but I have a lot to say about these Oompa Loompas.
Let's keep going with the cast first. So, Johnny Depp, I will say this. I appreciate that he's trying to do something different, and I think this whole movie is trying to do something different than the first adaptation did. So I give that credit, but, I feel like it maybe could have been a little...
It's more aligned with the original novel.
Okay.
Let's go all the way back to the the beginning. The Roald Dahl, the Dahl family hated the original.
Oh, they did.
And they have the rights to it. During my research on this, I didn't know he wrote a sequel called Charlie and the Glass Elevator, and they were
I heard about
with
that.
The success of the.
So you're gonna have to fill in some of the blanks on the Dahl family. I don't know.
The Dahl family have the rights to the
very original
to their father's work, and they hate Roll hated the movie with Gene Wilder because they really kind of dealt from the source material for better. I think it's more iconic. So they kind of said Hollywood's been wanting to remake this for years, since the 90s. They went through an array of different directors. Marty Scorsese was going to direct this.
Oh, I don't know if that's his sort of realm.
All my life, I've always wanted to have chocolate.
Yeah.
But they turned out, the Dahl family they turned down every director except for Tim Burton.
I feel like Tim Burton seems like a...
perfect director.
Yeah, I would have, going into this, I would have thought, Tim Burton would have been maybe my first choice. I mean... again, if the original tone is something a little darker, then, Tim Burton's your guy. I feel like Tim Burton in a lot of his movies is able to juggle multiple tones, especially a dark tone with maybe more humor or, what have you.
They were the only director that they would sign off of. And there's when Tim Burton's passionate about something, I think it ends up being a good product. Because it's a sweet story, but when they went to when he went to the Dahl estate and he saw the writers, I hate saying his name over and over, but he saw the writers, his room. He's like, this is Charlie Bucket's house, and the family this is why you're the director. And I did not like that house. That whole house is a Dutch angle. It's always on a slant. It's the most. Every house around it is fine except this house, and they're eating cabbage. And I just.
Well, see, I think that choice to me seemed like this is more This is like this movie. I feel like is trying to be more of like a storybook come to life.
Oh yes.
So that's why I think we could make fun of it. Like Charlie's definitely going to catch pneumonia sleeping, with that hole in the roof right above his head.
On the production side, it's a well-made production,
Yeah.
but the door is at a 45-degree angle. This family is below poverty, and they're surrounded by like wealth, and they're eating cabbage.
And that's why it's so nice that he gets the factory.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's such a beautiful story of like rags to riches.
Freddie Highmore is a really good Charlie. Like
he's a great.
Like the whole Johnny Depp aside, the whole cast actually really works.
I like the grandparents. Like I like not necessarily actually Grandpa Joe. I feel like Grandpa Joe kind of creeped me out a little bit, but I like the other grandpa better.
He's gonna be a fatty.
Yeah, the one who's like cursing. I like that grandpa.
They have I can't tell you anything about the grandparents in the
70s
the
version.
70s one, but each one had sadly dementia was one of the characteristics
Grandma
of one, but they
Georgina.
each had a characteristic, and I also really enjoyed that grandparent.
So I think they tried to give the grandparents a little more personality, which I liked. Then with going more into the cast, these kid actors who played the other kids, I always thought it was funny that a lot of them look exactly like the kids from the 70s version. Like Veruca Salt is like. It's like they cloned her from the 70s and saved her for this movie. I thought that was funny. I think the kids are fine. I like that they updated it a little bit too. Like Mike TV is really into video games
Instead of cowboys, like the modernization works for the kids, not with the Oompa Loompas.
Oh,
Not with the Oompa Loompas. I always Deep Roy, like okay, you're cutting costs, and Deep Roy actually like he did all these separately, but I'm like
that was a choice. I didn't think that was for money.
It's like how do you?
The whole thing was for money.
Yeah, how do you modernize an Oompa Loompa song? And then like I forgot everything about the original or the first time when I'm seeing it, and I'm like, I bet there's gonna be a guitar, a guitar like wow, and there was.
It was just. It felt like just so much. Every single scene, they're just doing too much.
It's like a fantasy magical thing. Like, how could you do too much? Like, I'm not the hugest fan. I definitely did like the old Oompa Loompas. Their look a little bit better. But like, whatever. It's like a magical fairy tale book. Like, let them dance and have all these crazy things, and then they go into like their Beatles moment, and they do their other thing, and they have like.
Did you like the songs?
The songs are okay.
Can you sing? Can you recite one of them?
No, okay, but
but from the original you can off the top of your head.
But this is not comparing the original. We're talking about this
on their own. Yeah, on their own.
And like,
right,
yeah,
it has not one part of it. Can you go? Oh, like that song where they go, like you have no idea.
I did like the fact like I can't remember who the kid. I think it was Charlie. He was like. Why do they know all this?
Yeah, that was cool.
Like I'm happy someone called that out. It's like a
meta moment there. Yeah, that was.
Gloop. What rhymes with gloop? Yeah. Nincompoop. Like, and I like the backstory. Like,
you kind of dive more. See, that's what I find kind of funny too is that this is called Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, but it's kind of more about Willy Wonka this time. You see more. They dive into his backstory more. You find out about how he got the Oompa Loompas. Like you get.
I love the Oompa Loompa story. How he got the Oompa Loompas. I thought that was great.
That was actually one of my. Like I liked that part of the movie.
Yeah.
I liked like when because it reminded me of like better Johnny Depp movies. Just reminded me of like other movies.
Like a different movie.
Yeah, I was like, oh, this is cool. Yeah, Johnny Depp's in the forest, like kind of exploring. This is like back to something I would like from him.
This is like during peak Johnny Depp. Like this is him at it. Like
fresh out like 2 years. It's 2005. So 2003 was Pirates of the Caribbean.
And then he had Finding Neverland a year before. That's how he met Freddie Highmore and recommended him for Charlie. This is him at like Tim Burton and Johnny. They're gonna make gold.
And I think I like my Johnny Depp like not in the big franchises. I think I like him in like.
That's how I like my Tim Burton.
Yeah.
You Oompa Loompas ate nothing but green caterpillars, which tasted revolting. The Oompa Loompas kept looking for other things to mash up with the caterpillars to make them taste better. Red beetles, the bark of the bong bong tree, all of them beastly. But not quite so beastly as the caterpillars.
There are, to me, 3 stages of Tim Burton. Like, one is the 90s, and that's kind of like the independent, his idea.
Yeah.
Edward Scissorhands, he kind of recreated Batman. And this I would put in the second Tim Burton, where studios are like, you're gonna make us money. We'll give you unlimited budget. And there's a few like, there's some really good stuff like Big Fish and
Big Fish is great.
And Sweeney Todd.
Yep.
And then there's, I would even consider this is a financial success. And there's also Planet of the Apes. And then I think once Alice in Wonderland hit, it's not that he hasn't made a bad movie. It's just they're kind of, oh yeah, Tim Burton's still like Dumbo.
Well, did Tim Burton direct the Grinch, the new Grinch, or was that
with Jim Carrey
or somebody else?
With Jim Carrey?
I don't know. I just felt like
I don't think that's Tim Burton.
That's Ron Howard.
That's
Ron Howard. There it is.
Well, I think this might have been like his first remake of well, again, I would first want to say this is a second adaptation more so than a remake. Because a lot of people, at least from the audience reviews, like keep referring to it as a remake, but I think the idea was to adapt the book a second time, which I think there is like a difference there. But you have this movie, and then he comes out with Alice in Wonderland, and I feel like he's done like mostly remakes or second adaptations ever since.
Like Dark Shadows, Dumbo, and it's like it's not necessarily they're bad movies, but they're just like they come and go. And I miss Tim Burton. I miss the guy, the little lonely nerd who drew like Jack Skellington and Edward
James
Scissorhands.
the Giant Peach. That's like one of the greatest.
Like Corpse Bride.
Actually, I looked up. That also meets the qualifications for this podcast, which we can talk about another occasion.
Come back
to that one.
I'm all in for that. That might be all positive.
I love that movie.
Might not create as good.
That one I think was, if memory serves, I looked it up. It was like similar to this movie, very high critical score, a much lower audience score.
Whoa.
So that could be say that one
like
for another
90s
day.
audiences too, right? Are the scores coming from the specific times around when it was released, right?
Yeah, so these it's a mix of people who like reviewed it at the time. Well, at least the critical scores are mostly of the time. I think a lot of the audience scores have like
various years.
Because some things age a certain way, and you go,
Very
that
true.
was actually.
I think the
So
aging.
do you think this movie, 2005, it hasn't been, this is 14 years ago. Watching this, I feel like the effects still hold up. I don't think it looks outdated really. Maybe I think the one scene that looked a little off was when what's her name turns into a blueberry. I feel like that CGI you could tell is like a little like old. But besides that, I mean, most of it, the sets and everything are mostly like practical.
I gotta give them credit for using real squirrels.
That's amazing.
For
squirrels were you not amazed
That
by
was,
that?
like they trained squirrels for like 10 weeks on how to to crack open their own nuts and then attack a little girl. But they wanted to use real squirrels, and damn it, they had the money to throw at like
impressive. That gives them a few points. Beep, beep.
And then another set piece, like, all these rooms that they go into all look very, like, distinctive. The squirrel room has, like, a cool look with, like, that garbage chute in the middle and the swirl. Like, the inventing room looks kind of neat. So, again, like, I feel like the highest notes I can give for this movie definitely is coming again from the production design.
Yeah.
The other actors, though, what do you think of the parents? Did you like the parents in this version? If anything like stands out to you, like Missy Pyle. Anytime I see her in something, I'm like, yes, it's Missy Pyle. I want to see more of her personally.
She always plays a good bitch.
Yeah, she has like that eyebrows for that.
Yeah, she was my favorite. She was the only parent that I like remember, and I just saw it like recently too. So it's like the other parents are just like whatever.
Yeah, they're kind of just there. I feel like I remember the German mother from the original one more, because for some reason she kept saying, save some room for later. And I never understood what that meant. Like, why? Like, every time the kids eat, she's like, save some room. I'm like, for what?
Yeah, I was absolutely disgusted by Augusta. Like, it's just like, this is my 10th, like, I eat chocolate they made all these kids, like, evil personified.
Yeah, I think they were more evil than in the original version, because in the 70s version, they were kind of like, not malicious, they just were like is chewing gum really that bad? Whereas in this movie they made Violet more of like this like in your face, like you gotta win, be number one, which I kind of like.
They were all just like seemed like different versions of spoiled. You know what I mean? That was really like the one adjective they all definitely.
Well, there's like greed, like I think they all like it's been thrown out there that they represent one of the seven deadly sins, and I'm like, I imagine the writer John August definitely like took that.
Yeah,
and
obviously
ran with
Augustus is gluttony, and then Veruca is greed. I guess you can say, and then maybe you can also go like for like Mike TV and Sloth.
I was gonna say you mean the angry kid?
Yeah.
I would say anger.
Oh, anger. In this movie, it's anger. Yeah, I forgot that's one too, actually. And then Pride for Violets, and then
I would say Charlie's envy, and I don't know. He's like. I'd rather not.
Charlie's a good boy. He's nothing.
I know, but I'd rather not live in a house with a 45-degree angle like that.
He was happy with his house.
He was.
Fine.
He chose to stay with his family, which is nice.
There are deleted scenes where he's just screaming into a pillow.
Why?
His roof had like what? It was off. He's like when he like looks up, he's like, "Hey, everybody."
They were like
a good kid.
They were like practically.
Those kids should have signed. I would have appreciated a scene like if anything happens to you on this trip, you will not sue.
You see that in the original version. That's why they signed that wall with like the increasingly hard to read text.
The waiver scene.
Yeah,
I would have appreciated that, at least a deleted scene, because those kids
you got the waiver
ruined.
scene in the original one.
Yeah.
But even they made the waiver scene amusing in the original one with like the creepy like the hand things that grab your hat. Like that was kind of like weird. Okay, so I think the cast overall, I think maybe not much standouts, but like we like the kids and Johnny
casting
Depp
was great. I think casting they took care of it.
And then there's the family, like Helena Bonham Carter just kind of being like probably her most normal role of any role she's ever had, just being like. Just like a normal, nice.
My husband's making a movie. Who am I? She was good in it. So was the guy from
the guy who chopped
Game
up
of Thrones.
Jamie,
Yeah, he chopped off Jamie's hand.
Yeah.
So
cast, I would say, at the end of the day, though, I think Johnny Depp is. If you like him, you like the cast. If you don't like him, you don't like the cast.
Good morning, Starshine. The Earth says hello. Dear guests, greetings. Welcome to the factory. I shake you warmly by the hand. My name is Willy Wonka.
Then shouldn't you be up there?
Well, I couldn't very well watch the show from up there, now could I, little girl?
I'm gonna challenge you on that, just in the sense of, I love Johnny Depp. I think he's a great, amazing fucking actor. But this is like the only time it's ever happened any movie with him. He's the part I don't like about this movie.
Mm-hmm. No, but
that's one of the weirdest things.
But that's what I'm saying. If you don't like him, I feel like for a lot of the audiences, it's like he alone might be like, this movie or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
And like I said, you can like give shining stars to like some of the other actors in this movie, but at the end of the day, like Johnny Depp,
he's the make or break.
Exactly.
He's the Willy.
he's the Willy.
I found his acting choices, while I can for effort it.
I kind of get what he's doing.
I get what he's doing.
He's like repressed child. He's like an adult child who had a repressed childhood. I kind of get that.
But like, did the original Willy? I mean, maybe that's probably what also kind of like put me in like a weird place with this movie is because of the original. Because there's all that weight of the original one. Like, I don't remember Willy Wonka having like this weird repressed memories of a child.
Oh no.
You're comparing it.
I know, I am. That's what hurt this one.
That was they gave like the character kind of more like again a different take, a different spin. They dive into his background more, where you don't really get any of that in the original one. Right. It's just kind of Gene Wilder, doing his thing.
Yeah.
But I think it's like the perfect backstory. Like his dad's a dentist and like.
I like Christopher Lee.
Christopher Lee was excellent.
Yeah.
I miss him.
Yeah, that was great.
There's one shot.
And then he has to get the candy out of the fireplace. Like that was great. It was like
it just seemed very contrived to me, man.
Like I'm not.
I like that his dad's a dentist.
Yeah,
it just seemed like
perfect.
The most like obvious writing of all. Like,
I like Christopher Lee. I like Christopher Lee a lot, and there's one shot of him which is like I think my favorite shot of any movie that I've seen him in, where he goes, some kids are allergic to chocolate, and and then Willie goes, well maybe I'm not, and he goes, but why take a chance? And then he smiles, and that shot of him smiling, that evil smile, I love that shot for some reason. Like, why take a chance? He's like, like so uncomfortable. So I liked him.
Could I ask a question to you, Sean? Like, I think we all agree that Gene Wilder is the gold standard of how Willy Wonka should be.
That's right.
But anyone else playing that part, Johnny Depp included, is it kind of a lose? Are you losing before you even you're out of the gate? because
Didn't even do it in the first place.
Because
but it's all perception, obviously, So, if someone's never seen it and they just saw the new one, they can be like, oh, this is a great movie about whatever. I came in with all this expectations.
Which I think most people did, to be fair. When this 2005, right? So I think I was like 14 when this came out. It had been, like a number of years since I had seen the original, which I saw a lot as a kid. So this comes out, and I'm like, oh yes, I like Willy Wonka, so I want to see this. I don't think I went into it being like, oh, they shouldn't remake one of my favorite movies. I think I was excited to see it.
I went in it with a good mind. I thought, yeah.
I wanted to see it, and I wanted to like it. I think maybe, though, some people from the audience reviews we have went into it thinking, like, how dare they remake this movie or do another version.
Right.
But I always say to people, like, these movies exist. You can still love the original. There's going to be good remakes. There's going to be bad remakes.
Do you think this movie, though, is ultimately just a cash grab? I think, that I've heard that kind of thrown out there, too. It's like, it sells, right? It sells, like, a franchise people know and like, a director that has been successful with an actor he's collaborated with before, and then also, like, a composer, again, who's worked with him before. Like, you kind of get, like, what I would say on paper is like, yes, this is something that will make money, but do you think there's any more integrity to it than that? I mean, Lindsay, you liked it. Like, I feel like you would defend it against that.
I mean, like, okay, I can see the point of, like, it being a cash grab or whatever, but, like, think about it from your perspective as, like, a creative person. Like, when you work with people that you love and, like, do a good job, like, I don't know, I have, like, certain friends of mine that, like, I love to work with and I want to be creative with them, so having the opportunity to do another thing with them, of course I'm going to jump at it. So, like, I think that they do a great job together, so, like, why not keep working together? And, like, they're just in the position where they can make money, so then let's make money.
It's a win-win. And I think there is, this is their 5th collaboration, but I think there's a labor of love from Tim Burton.
Yeah.
I think he tries to do something different, and I think
it's
I'm along for the ride.
Yeah, they found their people.
We're in an age, too, where we're seeing a lot of other kinds of remakes, from Disney these days, and the biggest criticism I read about those remakes, like this year we got Aladdin and Lion King. Aladdin King is like the crossover. Aladdin and Lion King, Dumbo. Well, the biggest criticism I'm reading about some of these movies is that they don't do anything different. Like, they are kind of like almost shot-for-shot remakes. So I feel like, I've said it before, but at least this movie does try to do something different. Even if you don't like the choices in comparison to the original, at least you're getting things that, like, are new. You're exploring characters a different way. You're getting different takes, which is what you should do with a new version.
Yeah, I appreciate the effort. I appreciate
A for effort.
I appreciate them going for it. I just, like, the original one just puts so much of my frame of how I look at it. So, like, I just never looked at Willy Wonka as, like, a creepy character, but this one, like, kind of like what you said earlier, like, the Michael Jackson vibes in there, I was just like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to be part of this.
But it's kind of interesting because he's, like, sick and, like, crazy, but, like, he can create all this stuff. Like, it kind of gives you, like, the mad scientist vibes, which I like. It's like...
Maybe they should have given him a different haircut. I think maybe they should have given him...
No, I love his whole
you like his hair?
costume. I love his haircut. I love the glasses. I love the hat. I love it.
Okay.
I think it's, like, great.
Was there, like, did he drop a funny line in there that I missed? Was there, like...
What?
Was there a funny part?
It's not. He doesn't have to be funny. He's like a mad scientist character.
I used to have, like, the Willy Wonka, the Gene Wilder one on VHS, and I'm like, this guy is so cavalier about a girl turning into a blueberry. There is a creepy, like, strip the Gene Wilderness aside, there is a creepy...
The original has some creepy moments, too.
A dark vibe. I don't want to say creepy. A dark vibe.
But this version is honing in on the dark vibe.
It owns in...
Doubles down, triples down.
But Sean, what I wanted to do is, there's a list of names of other actors who were in consideration. And I just want to get your who else could have.
Yeah, I like this game.
Now, if Johnny Depp just couldn't do it, Tim Burton's next was Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and not even The Rock, who we know now as like this mega A-lister.
This is
Scorpion King.
The Rock.
The Rock. That was his next choice. Interesting. This could have been his big break. Probably.
I can't imagine like a muscular Willy Wonka.
No.
Like that's outrageous.
It wouldn't work.
Do you smell that, kids? It's what The Rock is. It's what Willy Wonka's cooking. Like.
Yeah, well, that goes further into the cash grab theory, because it feels like they were just like, well, The Rock's moving with a certain demographic.
I would say not in 2005 though. I would say like no one. I mean, like this is Tooth Fairy times.
I always loved The Rock though, man.
I like the Tooth Fairy.
That was a big.
But
I was a big fan of The Rock since the wrestling days. Since WWF, not gonna
Let's put that on the slate too, Tooth Fairy.
But there are other names. Anyone that pique your you got Bill. Basically all the heavy hitters. Bill Murray.
Wow.
Christopher Walken. Steve Martin, Robin Williams, Nicolas Cage, Jim Carrey, Michael Keaton, De Niro, Brad Pitt, Will Smith, Mike Myers, Ben Stiller, Leslie Nielsen, John Cleese, Eric Idle, Michael Palin, Patrick Stewart, and Adam Sandler, and in addition, Dustin Hoffman and Marilyn Manson reportedly wanted the role as well. I'm surprised Al Pacino did not want it.
I was gonna say,
how you doing, kids?
I think Jamie Foxx would be a good one.
Oh, interesting.
Jamie Foxx would be
coming off of Ray.
Yeah, he'd be.
Well, yeah, I think a name I heard there that I liked.
I'd like to see the Jim Carrey.
I've always been a big fan of Jim Carrey, and I think I would have liked that a lot. I think he would have brought something really interesting to the character.
I feel like we could do like a float, like it's like I don't want to see Bill Murray's, I don't want to see Adam Sandler's.
I don't want to see De Niro.
I don't want to see De Niro. I don't think Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt's a good actor, but I can't see Brad Pitt. Mike Myers, I think could. Maybe.
Oh,
yeah.
I would have liked that. That would have been a good one.
Will Smith.
But the thing is,
if he had done that instead of Cat in the Hat, that might have saved his career.
I mean, hey, I'm not crying for that man's career. He's doing alright.
Marilyn Manson. I know, like, Marilyn Manson's probably the most interesting name that pops up on here, just because I feel like that would be a great music
Well, that's
video.
my thing. If you were going to go creepy, go full creepy. Go Marilyn Manson if you're going to do it. Like, the Johnny Depp thing felt like just kind of in
that would be like the anti-cash grab, because Marilyn Manson is someone who
I would have been more behind that. I would have been more behind that if it was like closer to like a Rob Zombie movie than it was the Chocolate Factory. This felt like
the Oompa Loompas directed this movie.
The Oompa Loompas are Guar. Like.
Yeah, it felt like if you were going to do this like in between, like it's kind of dark thing, and then still try to make it a family movie, it was like, just pick a side. I'd rather if it went full.
I mean, you could have dark family movies that are even darker than this, right? Like, I appreciate movies like, I mean, this is going back, but like The Never-Ending Story is one of my favorite childhood movies, and I feel like that is a very dark movie.
Is it? I have to see that one again.
I mean, that there's a horse that drowns in a swamp of sadness. I think that's pretty dark.
I don't want to see, like, this is a family movie, though. That, like, this is, like, I don't want it to be...
I always thought, well...
Like, they leaned in on the dark enough to me. Right. Like, this is good for ABC Family or Freeform or what it... Like, this is a movie maybe you might not like, hey, we're going to watch Charlie and the Chocolate Factory tonight, but if you're, cleaning your house... and flipping through the channels, and it's 1 p.m., and you hit on Freeform, and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is on, I wouldn't turn it off.
Is that what makes a good movie? A cleaning in the house in the background?
It's a type of movie. It's a type of
movie, though.
That's a genre? Cleaning in the house movies?
That's the fate of a lot of movies that, I guess, some movies fade into obscurity, like you never hear from them again. Some movies are like the classics that people like come back to a lot, and then other movies are like cable channel movies.
I'll tell you this, Sean. I remember being at a yard sale once, and I saw Shawshank in someone was selling it for like $3, and it's like you can make one of the best movies in the world, and at the end of the day, you might end up being $3 in a bargain bin.
I guarantee you, this movie has been in like a Walmart 99-cent bin.
Oh yeah.
Well, who buys movies anymore?
No, that's fair.
Oh, my dear boy, that means you've won. Oh, I do congratulate you. I really do. I'm absolutely delighted. I had a hunch, right from the beginning. Well done. Now, we mustn't dilly or dally, because we have an enormous number of things to do before the day's out. But luckily for us, we have the great glass elevator to speed things along.
The audience score for this movie is 51%. So I would say that's more of like a divide, right? It's like, if it's 51%, that means half people like it, half people didn't.
Yeah, but 51 is the majority.
But that's
it becomes law.
Yeah.
It is just it's a minor majority.
Yeah, it is. Like if we were voting, right, and 51%
But looking through the audience reviews of this movie, it wouldn't feel like that. It honestly, it was like middling to none. Someone was legit angry about this movie. Childhood ruined. And you know what? That says a lot. To me, that says a lot about them. In all caps, with childhood ruined.
Exclamation marks.
But that's because people come in with all these expectations and had all these preconceived notions of what they wanted, and it didn't meet their expectations, and they were unhappy. And that's just anything in life. If you expect oh, I'm gonna go to this and it's gonna be so great, blah blah, and then it doesn't meet your expectations, you're disappointed. So it's just if had there not been the first Charlie and the Chocolate, or Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory or whatever, people would like this movie. People would be like, oh, this was great. But because they're coming in with this,
they know what they're comparing it.
Yeah, they should have gone into it maybe thinking okay, this is a remake. Let me try to forget about the original one.
I feel like that's gonna happen with older people. I remember a little just side story. I saw The Lion King with my cousins, and I'm going in with oh, how does it compare to the cartoon, which I saw when I was 4, seen it many times since, masterpiece. And it's hard to be a curmudgeon when you're surrounded by families who are all laughing and stuff, and it's you're not going to turn to the kid next to you going yeah, but it's not the cartoon. I think that's where a lot of some of the criticism stems from. It's not the original. How dare Tim Burton and Johnny Depp ruin my childhood? I think they really tried. And there are legit criticisms with it, but I don't see the need to write in all caps childhood ruined.
And also, if this ruins your childhood, you need to get a life.
It's not the original one is banned.
You heard it here first.
It's not when this movie came out, it's all right, now we're going to confiscate all the original versions and destroy those. You can only watch.
They tear down the Gene Wilder statues and put up Johnny Depp.
You can always go back to the original childhood ruined.
The childhood was already ruined before they watched this movie.
Yeah, this is stemming from something else.
Yeah, this is just the straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah. Another stem of criticisms, I think, and this is maybe more legit, is some people just found it unpleasant. The aesthetic, the depth, the giant.
One sequence that comes to mind, if you had to assign the word unpleasant, is the burning of the puppets, I guess. That's supposed to be a dark humor sort of thing. There's actually one shot of the face completely melted off of it, right at the end of that sequence. And I feel that whole thing probably turned some people off. Ooh, what is this?
I enjoyed it. I didn't even hate that part, man. It just took a weird spin for me once they got in the factory, and once you brought in the new Oompa Loompas, I was like.
I don't know. I thought the burning the puppets was funny, and then he makes a joke that they have a puppet
hospital.
The puppet hospital. That's great.
Yeah, that's new.
Yeah, but I like that.
There's Oompa Loompas carrying.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that, but I totally forgot that he burns down the puppets. I'm oh, okay. I think that's the tone. That's the scene that you show if you're gonna like this movie.
There's some lines I have to say, because that puppet scene just reminded me, after that happens, then you meet, that's the introduction of Willy Wonka, and he comes up, he has this very strange line where he goes, good morning, sunshine, the earth says hello.
I get that, though.
Awkward, and then it's an awkward silence, and he's okay, next card. And I'm what? I some choices like that, I'm all right, that to me, I think is supposed to be a joke, but I don't understand what that is, or why anyone would ever say that.
Well, that's a song.
It's because he's been cooped up in this factory. He doesn't have great people skills, so he he's planning what he's gonna say to all these people, and he was all right, let's do something friendly, or maybe he got the Oompa Loompas.
Hello, sunshine.
Yeah,
well, that's a bizarre one.
And that's why it's funny because he's so bad at saying it, and just doesn't come across great.
Well, that's how a song starts. I can't this is stemming from my Simpsons knowledge that I know it's a song, but that's the only reason why I got that reference. It's not out of the blue, but I imagine it's a deep cut of a reference.
That was lost on me. I was what in the world is that line? That might be a little bit of a nitpick, but I feel the movie had a few other moments like that where there was just he had an interesting line where I'm I have no idea what he's talking about, but I guess that's the character.
Heavens, I haven't seen bicuspids like these since since, Willie. Hi, Dad.
Can we talk about the music?
Yeah, so the song...
music.
Yeah, so I mean, first of all, the score, Danny Elfman, this is like your like typical Danny Elfman score, I guess, you know, and I like, again, they're trying to set this tone, like, you know, kind of a darker vibe for this movie, but I don't really know if it's that memorable.
As I said, name me one song, name me one melody from the new one.
A rather different set of friends. Like, okay, I'll say that one song when they're talking about how, like, Rook is making friends with the garbage, I think that kind of...
That like, stuck with you?
It stuck with me a little bit.
Augustus Gloop, you big fat ninny nincompoop. That's the only one I remember.
But does it stand with you like,
No.
Yeah. I don't care where you are, where you're from, you hear that jam, something special.
I feel like both songs, both from like the Oompa Loompa songs from the original and these Oompa Loompa songs are like anti-hits. They're like purposely like these weird sort of tunes that are not a good...
Are they? Is that the idea? Did I miss that? Was it like they're purposely supposed to be...
I'll say this, the original versions had... the original version, you know, obviously has some classic songs too, but they had a couple stinkers too. Like, I feel like the song Cheer Up Charlie was universally fast-forwarded on every VHS everyone had.
100%. But I'll take a few classic jams out of this, out of the original, and then on this one, there isn't a classic jam.
Is the Candyman? That's Willy Wonka, right?
That's the original Wonka. There's no songs before, in this movie, in the 2005 version, there are no songs before they get into the factory, so it turns into a musical like halfway,
right.
which I thought was kind of funny.
I think during the part with like the Candyman, like where the Candyman song would have appeared, and Charlie first gets the ticket, I think I was like flabbergasted by some of the people's like bids. It's like, I'll give you $50 and a bike. It's like, you know, he has like the gold. It's like, I'll give you $500. It's like, you gotta aim higher than that. It's like, let the kid
I'll suck your dick, Charlie.
Oh my goodness gracious. There was that whole sequence when like the other kids are getting getting their tickets. There's a lot of like tight shots, you know, and some of the like extras, I feel like there's lots of like facial reactions, or sometimes it's like really like slowly paced. Like one scene I was like, get on with it, like from Monty Python, was when Augustus Gloop is like, when I took the bite I couldn't tell, is this nougat? Caramel? And he like lists like 10 other things it could be, and I'm like, I get it! Like, you bit into the ticket, get on with it. So little things like I feel like the pacing and that part, like until you get to the factory, and it's similar to the first movie. Like you just want to get into the factory already. Like, you know, like get the tickets. Like let's get in there already.
They're lucky that glass elevator worked the way it did.
Do you like this glass elevator more than the original one? This one was an actual glass elevator. I don't know what the original one was. That was not really. That didn't look like.
I liked. If I remember everything from Willy Wonka, I think everything that was practical in Charlie worked for me, and that's why I like the squirrels, and finding out that they were real squirrels just makes it better. But I think the CGI with the glass elevator was just like, oh, I'm like the.
I think the green screen shows a little more. I mean, that's another thing that maybe dates a little bit. Like, you know, that's another like digital CGI component that, you know, this is 14 years ago, and not everything will hold up.
But just going back for a sec, weirdly enough, I actually liked a lot of it before they went into the factory.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
okay.
I was like, I kind of like this movie. I like how it's setting up.
And it fell apart once they meet Johnny Depp.
Once they met Johnny, which is so weird, because I really do. I think he's like top 5 for me, like best actors ever. But it's so strange. When he comes into this movie, I'm just like,
It's just the choices.
It's
like,
just, that's the thing. I think it could be like the direction of it too. Exactly. Like the whole thing is just like a choice of like, he's not going to be whatever Gene Wilder's character was. He's just going to be straight creep. Like we're just going to be creepy Wonka, and that just.
Okay.
You got to give him like and I know you. Like, there's an A for effort where he's not doing Gene Wilder, but I don't necessarily agree with the. I'm kind of curious.
I wish it was a little more whimsical. I wish there was a little more give, a little more fun.
Maybe a little more energy?
Yeah.
Or is that maybe like this movie again is like a little more slowly paced? It's a little more like deeper dive with the dark. So maybe it's not supposed to be a more upbeat, energetic thing. but maybe it could have benefited from maybe just a little more.
I kind of now want to see Christopher Walken. Charlie, eat the chocolate.
Charlie,
eat the chocolate, Charlie.
What comes to mind for me, Tim Burton and Christopher Walken is the Headless Horseman with those those teeth, like those like grinded down teeth. Imagine just take that and then put a top hat on it. That's Christopher Walken's Willy Wonka.
There is one critic review that I think kind of sums up my feelings about it. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is not a total triumph, but it's successful enough to linger in your memory for the most part pleasantly. As I'm vacuuming the house, it's 1 o'clock.
Netflix it, freeform it, whatever it is. It's gonna be, it's. I mean, it hasn't faded into obscurity, so it has stuck with us. For
better, for worse, I think when people say like, "What's the weirdest Johnny Depp?" or awful, like people point to this movie, but I think everything else about this movie is pretty good.
Yeah. I think you shouldn't. I don't think you should like totally dismiss a film based on like one person that you don't like.
Sorry,
Sean. But I mean, I don't think you're doing that. But I think a lot of other people are just like, oh, Johnny Depp, no thanks. And it's a shame because there's a lot of people put work into a movie. So I don't think a movie's ever really, hinges on one person. So I think now we can maybe though move on to our final segment where we'll just give our personal scores, percentages. So we'll go around. What percent approval would you give this? And then we'll average that together to come up with our. Get your calculator out there.
Yeah.
If it's above 60, that's a fresh. We side with the critics. If it's below 60, that's a rotten. We're siding with the audiences. So Lindsay, we'll start with you. What percentage approval do you give this Charlie and the Chocolate Factory?
I'm gonna give it like an 82.
An 82%, so pretty much in line with the critic scores. All right, Sean, what do you think?
All right, we're gonna give her a 46.
Ooh, 46. So
dramatic.
Lower than the audiences gave it.
Very specific.
Well, it's speaking from the heart there.
That's right.
So, give it an honest score, not just trying to drag down the average there. I hope.
That's where I'm at.
Okay.
That's where I'm at.
That's fair. Keith.
I'm gonna give it a solid 70.
Okay.
I'm gonna give it a like a good C plus. Yeah.
All right. I feel like I went back and forth in this. I thought I would give this a lower score when I first went into this, but I feel like I've been swayed a little bit. So I'll probably give this also a 70%. I feel like, that to me is a score that says.
Sorry, Lindsay's giving me this
personal
like
victory
she won
from
something. Like she won.
I did
Listen,
win.
we don't mean to get between you two guys here, not to cause any like qualms here.
Don't fight, guys.
But I think
we love you.
70% to me says, I think that there's a lot of good in here. Could have been better. Yes, I think there was room there that they could have made some better choices, but they made choices. And I feel like that's better than making no choice at all and just doing a shot for shot. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. So
Keith, what's like a 50 for you?
50 for me is a movie that.
Give me an example.
50 for me is like not good, but not like the worst. I feel like 50 for me might be a movie that like I wish I might not even have seen.
Like
I don't know, just like a comedy that's not funny, and I feel like it was a waste of time. Like I'm kind of more interested in movies that are like a 10% that are so bad that I'm like, wow, like you can really talk about that.
The Troll 2s of the world.
Yeah,
I can't think of like I
was at 50%. It's like a movie that was just kind of like like what was the point? Like
the new Indiana Joneses. And
yeah. It's just like like it's even it's so down the middle that it's. I think that's the worst spot you could be in from a movie point of view.
Right. It's just average.
No impression at all. It just goes over your head. Yeah.
I just watched that's interesting because I'm like trying now to think of movies that I think are mediocre, and I just watched that new Godzilla movie, and I did say to myself, I think I have to watch that again because I don't know how I feel about it, but I don't feel good, but it's not necessarily bad, but I don't want to watch this again anytime soon. So I think Godzilla, the new one, comes to mind. But with our 4 powers combined, it ends up being a 67, which I actually think is appropriate for this movie.
I think that's
pretty appropriate.
That kind of sounds like the general vibe we're getting here. I think that's enigmatic. So, I'm sorry, Sean, but that is on the. I feel like that's like kind of right in the middle too between the two scores, but that is technically on the fresh side of the meter.
You win, Lindsay.
So, hey, it's not about winning; it's about sharing opinions
And the friends we made along the way.
But
But if there was a winner,
I would be the winner.
Yes. All right, fair enough. So I hereby decree that this podcast is siding with the critics on Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
boo the critics. Boo the critics.
Quiet.
Well,
Quiet from the peanut gallery.
All right. Sorry, Sean, but that's just how it worked out here. So, but thanks you guys anyway for coming here.
Yeah, thanks for being here, guys.
And joining our podcast. If there's anything you want to just quickly promote, to the listeners.
Lindsay Monal Yoga.
Yeah, come do yoga with me if you're in Jersey. LindsayMonalYoga.com. Come through.
That's right.
Well, we won't talk about chocolate or movies, but you'll leave feeling better than you do.
You won't leave the movie like thinned out to like paper thin like the one kid did.
Oh yeah.
You won't leave with blue skin.
Or the blueberry, yeah.
All right, and Sean.
Yep, Lindsay Monal Yoga all day, baby.
All right.
All day.
We'll
Check
post.
out Frog Boys too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We'll post the links underneath or to the side, however we do it.
Yeah, we'll figure it out, but we'll direct you their way. But thanks everyone for listening, and check us out next time for another Divided Film.